So this is important for me today. It's gonna be my first time driving a Supra, and for people that know me, they know that the Supra has been one of my favorite cars since I was a kid. Started with a game called Cruisin', and I'd always pick the red Supra. I didn't know it was a Supra at the time, but that was always my favorite car, and since then I'd see those cars and those were my favorite. So that's where the love and passion started from. I love them all, so being able to drive this one's gonna be important for me. Alright, so this is an 82 Toyota Celica Supra, and this is Devin's, my friend's, and he's pretty much restored the whole thing.
So, it's basically a stock 82 Supra now, but I bought the car when I was 14 with the help of my dad, and we spent 2 years completely restoring it, everything but a frame-off restoration, and that's because it's a unibody, but suspension, brakes, completely rebuilt the motor, did a long block, ground down the valves a little bit more, gave it a little more power than stock, but it's basically, we did it to make it exactly how it would have been the day you drove it off the showroom floor, if not better.
Yeah, I'm driving this right now. It feels like you took me to the Toyota dealership back in '82 to let me test drive this car. So power is plentiful, past 7,000 RPM, and our red line's at 6,500, so there's nothing going on right now. But it feels healthy. Like, it still gives you a nice little gentle push into your seat. It doesn't feel like the car's like broken. It's just slow, and for its era, it's kind of expected. Because how much horsepower does this make?
It was 145 brake horsepower from the factory. So
we're gonna assume the same since the car is restored in good condition.
Yeah.
Go! Oh! Oh! All right, barely made it.
now you know my pain. It's super stressful.
And then body roll is era correct. For an 80s car, the body roll is there, which is what we're looking for.
Yep.
Yeah, you weren't kidding though. Like, so there's a lot of body roll, you can feel it, but if you keep your foot in the gas, since the car isn't powerful, it really neutralizes it, and it is a confidence pedal. That was, who said that, from the Everyday Driver, right?
Yep, Everyday Driver.
But you know, steering for this car is actually impressive. It's quick. There's no slop in the steering, which I'm not sure if that's just because it's all restored, and that's why people have slop in their steering, just because of old parts. But it's quick to respond to your input. Oh yeah, you can feel my organs moving around inside of me. All this body roll. It's able to like keep its momentum though. I can feel the tire rolling over a little bit.
I've seen a lot of them with coilovers and wheels, tires. They handle just fine. I mean, as of right now, I've never been able to break traction in this car by accident on a corner or anything like that. I mean, the most I've ever had is like a tire squeal. So I mean, it does roll a lot, but I've never been able to lose control of this car. It's just, you can't get ahead of yourself, and that's what's so good about it. Is it's a good car for, you know, somebody who was my age at the time.
Who wants to get into driving?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is really forgivable to drive. It's really hard to mess up. Man, this is what the 80s was like. People driving like this. See, I think the driving style that was fun in the 80s was just cruising through a canyon at a slightly higher speed than the speed limit. Rather, nowadays we have people building their cars, or manufacturers making cars to be able to like go out to the track and go into the canyon, just shred and do double digits through a canyon. And this car is just meant to cruise and be able to handle anything you throw at it at just a higher speed than the speed limit. And what's nice about this engine though, even though it isn't powerful, I still haven't dropped a gear going through these slower corners, and it still pulls just as well as in the higher RPM. Does it do burnout?
It does.
Very slightly.
And it does have a limited slip, good, which is good from the factory.
Yeah, no one-wheeler peelers.
Yeah, no peg leg burnouts like the most of the NA Miatas had.
Yeah, the good thing is it's able to hang out in corners. It's able to hang out in corners, so you never need to use the brakes that much. So you don't even have to worry about brake fade. I think this car's a vital part of the Supra evolution, bringing us up to the 4th generation that everyone loves, and that's the only one everyone cares about. And I think with this, it got the cruising part down, but it didn't have power and like pristine handling. So when the Mark III came out, I haven't driven one, but I'm going to assume that's where they finally got the power down with the 7M, and assuming it didn't have a blown head gasket, the 7M made 250 horsepower. Yeah. And in Japan, you could get it with the 1JZ eventually, which we know that's a good engine for power.
Exactly. Yeah, no, it was, I mean, just like any generation of car, it showed them where they were and what they needed to focus on. And I mean, I've driven a Mark III once, and it's still a lot like this. I mean, a bone stock Mark III, they're not great, especially when they're not a GTE or a turbo car. They're still kind of lackadaisical, kind of slow, and they come with those awful directional wheels, which I can't stand. But yeah, it's all a vital piece getting us up to that point. I mean, this was still a great looking car. It was really, I mean, the Mark I wasn't really a performance car. It was just kind of something they did because they could. It was a trim package. But this is when they really started focusing on performance with it, and so I guess that's where its appreciation really comes from.
And then by the Mark IV, they figured out, okay, we need power and chassis.
Exactly.
And that's what makes the Supra that all the fanboys love to love.
Oh yeah.
And all the internet likes to hate.
Well, and they had to keep up with Nissan too. They had the R33 and the 32 coming. I mean, and 34 especially.
And the 300ZX and the RX-7 and the 3000 GT. The 3000 GT's a pushover.
Yeah, just
I pissed off someone with that, but
yeah.
I don't care. So the interior's cool. It's in excellent condition. The steering wheel's weird, but it really does give you that 80s vibe, and has that arcadey, cool, high-tech look to it. The seats are awesome. Those are cool. Did they come saying Toyota Supra on them from the factory? Did you do that?
They didn't. That was actually something we did.
I think that looks really good.
Yeah, but they are stock. I believe they're stock Recaros. Or they were a Recaro style seat. But Toyota did a pretty good job. A lot of people complain that these seats don't hold them in very well. But for a bigger guy like me, I'm not flying around.
I'm comfortable.
Yeah,
these are comfy.
They're good.
And then all this attention to detail in the interior is really cool also. It's something you don't see in like cars nowadays that are so high tech and stuff, that this is somewhere where like real creativity would come in with designing the interior. And it's all this little like hand built pieces, like the leather on the dash, because this is leather on here, right?
It is.
It's stitched on here. I don't know, the interior is really cool. It's a nice place to be. And the looks of the car, they're in its own territory. Nothing even like, I don't think anything even looks similar to this car. When you're driving down campus, people kept breaking their necks.
Oh yeah.
It's probably because it's so clean also to see a car like this in such good condition.
Exactly. And because we're not quite in that era where these cars are really considered classic yet. They're still just kind of, cars from the 80s. It's not like, oh, dude, that's a classic sports car.
They're in that awkward limbo mode right now.
Exactly. they're in their awkward middle school years. But really, it's like you said. There's nothing else I've really seen. I mean, you've got like, the Mustangs followed with the Fox body later in the day, the hatchback versions of that and stuff, giving that kind of swept back hatchback look. But really, as far as the angular, just swept look of this car, there's nothing really like it at all that I've ever seen.
Yeah, this is an enjoyable car to drive, because you don't need to drive it fast to have fun in it. There's some cars where you gotta like thrash on them to have fun, or like my car, like it begs you to thrash on it, so it's hard to not drive like a sane person.
Yeah.
But this car, you can drive like a sane person and feel satisfied with your life after driving it.
Yeah,
and I think that's what this car does really good. I can only imagine the evolution of this is even better. But this is the basis. This is the blank slate we started with and built off of it. And that's why this is important as a car and to Supra people, because I know Supra people that are like, I don't care about anything except for the Mark IV. And it's like, you're really just a douchebag. That's what you are.
Exactly.
So I want to thank you, Devin, for letting me drive this.
Of course.
And I want to thank you guys for watching this. Let me know if you guys liked it.